Nice to be here. I'm Neil Bindemann here. I'm a lifestyle neuroimmunologist. The reason for that title will become clear as I go through this. I run what we call now the Person-Centered Neurosciences Society and also the Lifestyle Health Foundation. So if we could move on. Thanks, David. So yeah, I started the initially the primary. It was called the Primary Care Neurology Society in almost 20 years ago, to provide a resource to support and educate a lot of primary care GPs, etc., around neurology. And then that was in 2004, 2006, we got the organisation going called the Community Therapist Network. I'd been approached by Professor Pam Enderby about that, and I will mention her work and the work we've been doing with Pam in a minute. And then in 2015, things started to change for me. As it says there, I had a brain tumour diagnosis in 2015, and that drew me into a very different world, one in which I came to hear about and learn about the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, and was actually involved with working with them for a couple of years. And then at the same time, around that time, we turned the Primary Care Neurology Society into what we now call the Person-Centered Neurosciences Society. And I moved towards setting up the Lifestyle Health Foundation with a good colleague of mine, Graham Stevens. If you could move on, David, to the next. Thank you. And so with the Person-Centered Neurosciences Society work, we turned it into a Person-Centered Society for various reasons. One was to really recognise that we have a lot of healthcare professionals in the world who have neurological conditions themselves, and we wanted to recognise that and brought a new group of professionals onto the steering committee. And as part of that work, we created this paper about what is it like to hear life-altering medical news perspectives from health professionals, and that is a very interesting insight into how it can be for those professionals, and also gives a perspective on anybody who's been diagnosed with a neurological condition or any condition really, because there's a few key messages that have come out of that work since we changed over around 2020. And then that journey has continued to be more person-centered and engaging more with the public through this brand, the Cafe Neuro Cafe, and a van. I sold my car and I traded it in to go on the road with a van to really meet and talk with members of the public and other professionals, because I go to health shows with this van, to explore discussions around all aspects of neurological support for people with neurological conditions, and also a lot to do with emotional health and lifestyle neuroscience is where we're moving into at the moment. And then just this year, we ran this event called Brain Care 2024. And as you see, the tagline was all about breathing life into medicine and healing through lifestyle neuroscience. And it was very much about learning from lived and living experiences and the power of the voice of those living experiences. Around the same time as doing this work, in 2006 is when I came into contact with Professor Pam Enderby, who has been involved with something called the therapy outcome measures for many, many years. Well, she's the pioneer of that and the creator of the TOMS. She's an amazing lady who's done some wonderful work in outcome measurement. And through that time, as you can see, the therapy outcome measures manual has gone through different editions up until the most recent one, which will be coming out next year into early 2025. And for those who don't know about the therapy outcome measures, I'll just spend a couple of minutes just explaining. This is an outcome measure that was developed, as I say, probably over 40 years ago, and has started to take a lot of people grab people's interest when outcome measurement and need to measure value and impact became high up on the agenda within the trusts and government as well. And they were exploring ways in which they could measure the impact and value of a service. The beauty about therapy outcome measures as a tool is its holistic nature. It looks at 4 key domains of the person, and it's very person-centered as well. So from that perspective, we feel it's a great tool. It looks at the impairment, so you have, in terms of the diagnosis, that it might be, so for example, stroke. So it looks at the impairment of that person, and it also then looks at the activity and how that person's activity has changed perhaps as a result. Then the participation in life, and it also assesses and measures well-being. It's those are 4 separate domains, and those domains are all measured independently, and it gives you a fantastic perspective on what is going on. And we've been involved since 2006 in training up quite a number of people. That's through the Community Therapist Network, and for those who want to learn more about that, that is on communitytherapy, all one word, .org.uk. The training is all done pretty much online these days using Zoom or Teams, and we did just have an event this year called Tom's Connect, which is actually where I met David for the first time. A great event whereby we were looking at the refreshing of Tom's, all the things that have been going on to reflect many aspects of changes in both society and across rehabilitation as well, because the scale itself is great for providing quantitative as well as qualitative data, and it's used across rehab sectors. Pam is a speech and language therapist by background, but she's Professor Emeritus at Sheffield and was Professor of Community Rehab there. So next year is going to be quite an exciting year with all the scales. So there is a core scale that we use, and then there are many adapted scales to help with the reliability of the data collected with that scale. So David, if you could just move to the next slides for me. And just to finish on a couple of digital innovations that we have been involved with. There appears to be, I think, a bit missing from that slide, unless it's got stuck somewhere else. But we have developed a tool called Smart Tracker. And as you see, it says enabling your emotions to be heard. This is a tool that is all about emotional health and the significance of a person's emotional health when it comes to both mental and physical illness. It came out of part of my experience of being diagnosed with brain tumour and realising that for probably 45 years so I'd taken a bit more than that probably, I'd taken my independence for granted, because I had to have my driving licence taken away due to the nature of the surgery, and that is when it hit me like a ton of bricks. That if somebody had said to me, how did your current level of independence make you feel? Quite frankly, I would have said shit. And then it was that made me realise the significance of my emotions, and the fact that my emotions, if I let them be heard, I realised how important my independence was as a value. So I think it's recognising that, and I've gone on to do more work around the neuroscience of emotions, and explored that in various avenues, and that's a really interesting area. And then the other area of development was Equal, which is about epilepsy quality of life. And again, this is very much around lifestyle health and medicine, because it's highlighting how diet is a very, very great approach to controlling seizures in epilepsy. It's been known for over 100 years now that shifting to what's known as a ketogenic diet. I know a lot of people will have heard that diet. Many of you have probably heard about it in weight loss and other areas as well, but it's actually main reason for coming about within the medical world was back over 100 years ago, when they discovered that it seemed to stop the seizures of a young lad on Ernest Shackleton's boat. And since that time, it's gone on, and the research has been fabulous to explore the role of diet in epilepsy and seizure control. And now, as we know, it's an area of very great interest in other areas too. So, including, or broadly across neurology, I'm very interested in looking at it in areas such as Parkinson's, but obviously we know now that it's got a relevance within the world of cancer, due to the significance of glucose as a fuel for cancer cells. So it's been a very interesting journey, and it'll be very interesting to see how things go forward into the future in terms of influencing people's behaviours in lifestyle. What the work that we've been doing is highlighting is very much the need to explore, one, their emotional health, but also to take a very person-centered approach to understand many mechanisms that maybe have taken place within them, that is the drivers of some of their behaviours. So David, thank you for that opportunity to go through a few points, and I look forward to hearing everybody else.